Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com with a quick video for an updated analysis of RIOT Blockchain Inc. for you. If you click on the link below the video here on the YouTube channel, then you can go through to my website where you'll see a written analysis with charts if you just want to look at the charts. I'm expecting RIOT to continue lower. I've calculated a target at 2 wave degrees from 9.59 to 8.21. Elliott wave first, classic analysis last. I'll make this pretty brief because, as you can hear, my voice isn't quite right today. It's a little bit difficult to see where to start an Elliott wave count for RIOT. I've kind of started it here, but I have analysed this downward movement and it fits very well as a corrective structure. So for the bigger picture, this should be a counter trend movement. From this low to this high, this upward movement fits as a 5-wave impulse, and so I'm going to label this cycle 1 and see cycle 2 continuing lower. Cycle 2 may not move beyond the start of 1 below 0.511. Weekly chart from this low here, this point here. On this chart I'm focusing on cycle 1 and 2, and I'm noting where I find Fibonacci ratios between actionary waves within cycle 1. Here within primary 3, intermediate 3 is just 0.62 greater than 4.236 the length of intermediate 1. And here primary 3 is 0.96 less than 6.854 times the length of primary 1. I've found no Fibonacci ratios between 1, 3 and 5 within primary 1, no Fibonacci ratio between intermediate 5 to either 3 or 1, and no Fibonacci ratio between primary 5 to either 3 or 1. So RIOT may occasionally exhibit Fibonacci ratios between its actionary waves, and this is how extreme they can be, which is more extreme than your usual commodity, but not as extreme as your usual cryptocurrency. This information is helpful for the future trying to calculate targets. I'll use Fibonacci ratios to calculate targets. So when cycle 2 could be complete, I'll be using a Fibonacci ratio between cycle 1 and 3 to calculate a target for cycle 3. We're not there yet. I'm seeing the structure of cycle 2 as a double zigzag, W, X, Y with the second zigzag incomplete. Y would reach 0.618, the length of W, at 9.59. This downward movement fits nicely in a best fit channel drawn from this high to this high with a copy on this low. Use this channel to indicate where support and resistance may be found as cycle 2 continues lower, and then I'll use it as an indication or confirmation that this bear market may be over when it's breached on the opposite side by upward movement. Let's focus on primary Y now from this high here, this point here. It was pretty hard to see this downward movement as a 5-wave impulse, but I figured it out. Intermediate A could be complete at the last low, 1, 2, 3, 4, and an extended 5th wave with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Intermediate wave B looks like it might be over here as a little brief shallow double zigzag. It certainly could continue sideways as a triangle or a flat correction, or it could continue higher as a triple zigzag. It may not move beyond the start of A above 46.28. That validation point's a long way away though, and this idea would be discarded if this upper edge of the trend channel is breached, although that too is a long way away. Here at the daily chart level, I've widened the target to a zone because at 8.21, intermediate C would reach 0.382, the length of intermediate A. It's a bit of a wide zone, but so far though I can only calculate it at 2 degrees. When there's structure within intermediate C, when I have minor waves 1, 2 and 3, 4 complete, I'll try and add to the target calculation at a 3rd degree and try and narrow that zone for you. Classic analysis now, real quick. There was strong support at 20 that was broken through, a bounce to test resistance. I would expect it's quite reasonable now to see price move down and away. A couple of bearish long upper wicks on the last 2 weekly candlesticks. The short-term volume profile looks slightly bullish at the weekly chart level, but the situation's a little different at the daily chart level. Next, really strong support below about 5. No signal from on-balance volume this week. RSI neutral. ADX is still below 15, too low to indicate a trend, but if it reaches 15, that would be a strong bearish signal. and stochastics oversold. At the daily chart level, I took a close look at the volume profile here. When we see upward movement, it tends to come with declining volume. Not always. Here's a strong upward session here. Declining volume finishes with some strength. Here's increasing volume, but again declining volume, declining volume, declining volume. We see it again here. It looks like this is probably a little counter trend movement, and these two downward sessions are a bit stronger than the last upward session. So I'm judging the very short-term volume profile to be bearish, which supports the Elliott wave count, and I would expect really strong resistance to continue about 20. There's a weak bearish signal from on-balance volume at the daily chart level that also supports the Elliott wave count. ADX indicates no clear trend at the daily chart level, but the negative DX lines crossed above the positive. If the black ADX line rises, then it would indicate a downward trend, but at this stage, no clear trend. Price has essentially been consolidating. The moving average situation is almost full bore bearish though. The shorts below the mids, below the long, the mid and long have got negative slopes, and price is below all three. RSI neutral after reaching oversold here, stochastics neutral, and ATR declining as price falls, indicating some weakness. It's essentially been falling slowly in decline, and it's mostly moving sideways, so that's normal for ATR to decline in those circumstances. That's all from me today, with an extra video update for RIOT for you for Laurie, and thanks so much for watching.